This is the calculating the kinetic energy, potential energy, and the period of pendulum lab. Please read through the summary and also the introduction, then finish the preliminary questions first. Then we will get into the lab portion. So this is the lab setup. Using a mass as a pendulum and setting up the ring stands and place the meter stick in front. As you can see, might not be that clear, but there's 3 tape on the table. First one right underneath it, it marked the 0 centimeters mark. Then the one on the middle, it marked the 15 centimeter mark. As I'm going to zoom in, so 0 centimeter mark, 15 centimeter mark, then the 30 centimeter mark. First of all, I do need to use a balance and measure the mass of the object. It is 100.56 grams. So this is just a diagram to show you how can I really measure the height of each different marking. At 0 centimeter mark, which means the pendulum is at rest. So that is the lowest height which I can measure from the bottom to the table. Then I can pull the pendulum to the 15 centimeter mark. Just make sure normally the middle of the bottom, it's right in the middle. Then I can mark the height for the 15 centimeter mark. Using the same way, we can measure the height for the 30 centimeter mark, then record those data. Placing the meter stick right by you when the pendulum is on rest. As you can see, record down the data. I did choose 5.1 centimeter. Next, put the pendulum right back to the 15 centimeter mark. And make sure it's straight. For data, I did choose 7.7 centimeters. And the last one, at 30 centimeter mark. I use 17.5 centimeters. So make sure the mass was in gram, you have to convert into kilogram. The height, it is in centimeters, you have to convert that into meters. Next, you do need to do the calculation to find out the potential energy. It is potential energy gravity. So think about the equation mass times gravity times height. After finding out the potential energy at the bottom, which is a 0 centimeters mark and also 15 centimeter mark and then 30 centimeters mark. Then consider the equation number 19. Initial mechanical energy is equal to final mechanical energy, which means when a pendulum is at the bottom at 15 centimeters mark and also 30 centimeters mark, those 3 mechanical energy should be the same. And we have been talking about mechanical energy is equal to potential energy plus kinetic energy. So think about the equation, then you should be able to find out what is the kinetic energy at the bottom. From that, you can find out what is the velocity. Now, place the photo gain right at the 0 centimeters mark. So that will help me to get the data for the velocity at the bottom of the pendulum. Now, pull to 15 centimeters mark and start collecting my data. First trial. I repeat the same procedure for 15 centimeters marks 3 times. Here it does show 4 different data points, so you just need to pick the first 3 of them. Record it into your data table. Then I will move on to the 30 centimeters mark, doing the same procedure. Same procedure for 30 centimeters mark. I did 3 different trials, so here is the data. You want to write it down into your data table. After record all your data, next thing you have to find is the actual velocity average, which is the experimental value. Find the average for the 15 centimeters mark and 30 meters mark. Next, try to find out what's the percent of error. In here, just be aware that you always use the theoretical value, which is what you calculate. Subtract the experimental value. Experimental value, it is what you actually experiment, which is the average value that we have. Then divide by the experimental value. It is an absolute value number, so which means that should be a positive number. Then you will be able to find your result. Next part of this lab, you need to find out the period of the pendulum. So read through the instruction, and there is a really important measurement you have to take, which is the length. So the length of the pendulum. So this is a diagram, then I did a measurement. So basically, the length, it is 37.5 centimeters. Make sure to follow the formula to calculate what is the period of the pendulum. For the extra time, I can use stopwatch, but at this point, I also can use photo gate to help me out, because it does tell me the time, which means the time between a swing through, that is a period of the pendulum. So think about this movement. I pull back to 15 centimeter mark and let it go. It'll swing through, trigger the photo gate, which will record the velocity. Now, if I think this is the starting point of the pendulum, which is I have to go back and forth once. So move forward, swing forward, and coming back. That will trigger the second time of the photo gate. Come back, then trigger once more. So using that kind of knowledge will help me to read the data. Now let's take a look. This is the one trial's data. As you can look, the second line, this is the time it triggered the photo gate, which is the first time it swing through. So since it's total trigger 3 times, that's what I need. So take a look at the time when it went through the first time, it is at 0.03639 seconds. The second time it triggered, it is when it swing forward, then come back and trigger it. Now all I need is the third time. The third time is 1.33967. So the difference between the 6th line there and the second line, that is the actual time. So what you need to do is you do that subtraction. Now all I need to do is another 4 different trials. Then I will show you the data. That's the total of 4 different trials for 15 centimeters mark. I will share this data with you in the files. Repeat by doing the 30 centimeters mark, and also I will share that data with you. After you getting those data, you should be able to calculate the average, and then find out what's the percent of error for the time. So just a little bit hint on that. As you can see from the equation, the centimeters mark, so which means no matter how high it was dropped, the time, the period of the pendulum should be relative the same, and also it actually appears in the lab also. Then you need to finish the conclusion questions.